We as a group were particularly interested in how OCPD is portrayed in the film industry, so we decided to examine and analyze certain characters from different movies and TV series that show certain symptoms of OCPD. First of all, it is important to make a distinction between OCPD and OCD. OCD is characterized by intrusive thoughts called obsessions that cause anxiety, which causes individuals to compulsively act in order to relieve the stress caused by these thoughts. It is found under the obsessive compulsive related disorders in the DSM-5. OCPD, on the other hand, is ruled by perfectionism and a need for detail. It does not include obsessions or compulsions, as these individuals, unlike those with OCD, are not self-aware that this need for perfection impairs their lives or can harm others around them. It is found in the cluster C of personality disorders in the DSM-5. Now, OCPD is characterized by a number of symptoms and can be diagnosed if four or more of these are present in a person's behavior at the expense of flexibility, openness, and efficiency, as the DSM-5 states. There are 8 symptoms for which the DSM characterizes OCPD, including fixations on details, perfectionism, and overall rigidity, which we will be talking about. Now, we will only be looking at a few of these symptoms, including preoccupations or fixations on something or someone specific, perfectionism, stubbornness and rigidity, merciless self-criticism, and lastly, harsh judgment of others' mistakes. Now, it is important to note before starting that none of these characters are actually diagnosed or said to be diagnosed with OCPD by their authors. We are only looking at and making connections between their behaviors and certain symptoms of it, not diagnosing them ourselves. And who knows, if they were alive today, maybe some of them would be diagnosed with it. Now, these characters are Death the Kid from the manga Soul Eater, Dolores Umbridge from Harry Potter, Monica Geller from the TV show Friends, and Claire Dunphy from the TV show Modern Family.
According to the Oxford Encyclopedia, specific fixations are a very strong interest in somebody or something that is unusual or not reasonable. Looking at our characters' excessive fixations is a great way to understand the symptom and the different ways it can manifest in people. For Umbridge, rules and order, she passed 136 educational degrees to have order, some of which are completely ridiculous, like no music, no non-educative books items allowed, 6 to 8 inches apart for boys and girls, hands out of cloaks, establish her own police to make sure people follow the rules, and watch from on top of her tower like a prison guard. She is always wearing pink, her office has pink carpet, pink chairs and cushions, pink lamps, pink blinds, pink walls, pink flowers, and even uses pink sugar for her tea. Her office walls are also littered with pinkish plates with cats on them. Death the Kid's fixation pretty much sums up his entire way of behaving. He is obsessed with symmetry. For him, everything needs to be symmetrical, otherwise it is imperfect and distresses him greatly. His appearance is always completely symmetrical except for his hair, which is his biggest anguish in life. It has 3 white stripes on one side and none on the other. Every character who knows him even just slightly can tell his entire life revolves around symmetry. Claire Dunphy over-fixates on the smallest details, and this makes it difficult for her to look at the bigger picture. Additionally, she has a very strong need for orderliness and needs all activities to be under control, otherwise she gets extremely anxious and agitated. In other words, she needs everything to go as planned, as she has a hard time adapting to change. Monica Geller is hyper-focused on following the proper structure of how we should go about different tasks and the rules, to the point where she finds it more fun to assure you are following these guidelines than spending time with loved ones or enjoying the true purpose of the activity. In her eyes, rules make activities fun and enjoyable for everyone. Monica uses cleaning and organization as a way to cope when she is stressed and cannot rest knowing that a space is not clean or disorganized. She will either stay up all night thinking about the unorganized, messy space, or simply show up at all hours to clean the space for you.
Just one question, dear. You've been in this post how long exactly?
Perfectionism. The APA Dictionary of Psychology defines perfectionism as the tendency to demand of others or of oneself an extremely high or even flawless level of performance in excess of what is required by the situation. Perfectionism is one of the most known and common symptoms of OCPD. For Umbridge, her office is symmetrical. We can see plates aligned perfectly all over the walls from big to small. Everything is symmetrical from the blinds to the plates to the pens on her desk. We can see her readjust a pen ever so slightly to make it parallel to the others, which are organized by size, again like the plates. Death the Kid, this character often, if not always, lets his drive for symmetry and perfection interfere with his productivity. For example, during an important mission, He left his partners in order to make sure a picture frame in his room was still perfectly strained up on his wall. Another instance of this is him bickering with his partners about standing symmetrically, letting the monster he's fighting escape. Lastly, he loves saying everything needs to be absolutely perfect. Claire Dunphy strives for flawlessness. She'll go out of her way to make sure her house is spotless and gets bothered if objects are misplaced. She spends a lot of time planning schedules and micromanages family members to ensure tasks are completely perfectly done. Her perfectionism also extends to her physical appearance. Monica is very particular about keeping her possessions in space in their mint condition as well as in place where she believes it is best to be kept. For example, it is unsettling for her character when photos are bent and or have fingerprint smudges on them. There must be no disruption to the natural order of how her space should be and is organized as well. The coffee table across from the couch must be a perfect distance so that one can put their feet up while on the couch. The carpet under the couch must be perfectly lined up with the back of the couch, and the green ottoman must stay on the right side and facing the coffee table.
Oh, look at her. So happy. If only there were a smaller one to clean this one.
Stubbornness. According to the Cambridge Dictionary, is the quality of being determined to do what you want and refusing to do anything else. Many of our characters are unreasonably stubborn in a way that demonstrates the level this symptom has to reach in order for it to be pathological. Umbridge, reluctant to believe Harry and Dumbledore, reviews all extracurricular activities and teachers to get rid of what she deems not up to standard, like banning sports as it is not educational. Death the Kid frequently refuses to fight monsters when they are perfectly symmetrical. When that happens, it is absolutely impossible to reason with him. He does not change his mind about his refusal to fight. Even if his life is in danger, he would rather die than destroy a symmetrical being or object, even if it's evil. Claire is very rigid with the plans she makes and refuses to go off course. Her displays inflexible thinking, which makes a struggle to see others' perspectives. Her need for strict planning makes it difficult to acclimate to spontaneous situations. Monica is adamant about doing things her way as they are more efficient and she doesn't like to relinquish control. She has a hard time taking into consideration a different strategy or approach to completing tasks and does not like change. In her mind, she follows a strict structure and is used to her way of doing things, therefore, why change it? From choosing flowers to choosing the band for her and Chandler's wedding, she insisted on doing things her way despite seeming interested in Chandler's opinion. Merciless self-criticism. Self-criticism is, according to Narragon, Gainey, and Watson, the tendency to engage in negative self-evaluation that results in feelings of worthlessness, failure, and guilt when expectations are not met. People with OCPD tend to have a very high, unrealistic standards for themselves. As mentioned earlier, Death the Kid's greatest pain is the asymmetry of his hair. Whenever someone mentions it, he finds himself in great distress and he insults and punishes himself. He has very high standards for himself, and when he does not meet them, his self-esteem takes a huge hit. Claire sets very high standards for herself and is very rigid when it comes to her values and morals. This causes her to become very self-critical whenever her acts aren't consistent with her values and standards. She also has a hard time accepting compliments and feels like she doesn't deserve them. Monica has high standards for herself too, and when those standards are not met, she seeks external validation to hear the positive feedback she expects for herself. Monica grew up being criticized and judged by her mother where she was never good enough and would seek validation through her cooking, where she excelled and today keeps those high, sometimes unattainable, standards of herself. For example, when she received a bad review of a restaurant from a food critic in the local paper, she attended an amateur cooking class to make herself feel better and receive the praise she knew she could guarantee from that class.
Why do you have to talk about symmetry anyway? 3 strands on the left side of your hair and none on the right? That doesn't look symmetrical to me. You're right, I'm an abomination. I'm filthy and dirty and unbalanced. Why is there only one set of stripes? I'm garbage. Asymmetrical garbage.
Harsh judgment of others' mistakes. Having OCPD can result not only in unrealistic standards towards oneself, but also towards others. Death the Kid, whenever someone destroys a symmetrical object, he gets extremely angry, and even if said destruction was an accident. Also, he judges everyone based on their symmetry and criticizes anyone who's asymmetrical. Claire sets high standards onto her family and gets irritated when they're not met. She gets frustrated when others don't pay as much attention to details as her. She likes things done her way and struggles with delegating tasks as she believes she can do them better. Monica expects others to have high standards like her. She judges others when they do not follow her same steps, since she does things the best way and the most efficient, so why not go with her way?
In conclusion, living with OCPD can be a constant battle between the desire for perfection and the frustration of never feeling good enough. It has a huge impact on people's day-to-day lives and relationships. Looking at one's symptoms and relating them to a specific disorder is crucial in order to seek further treatment. However, it is important to remember that disorder symptoms are not a checklist that necessarily have to all be fulfilled, and that they manifest differently in everyone. Thank you for listening.